Okay, well, welcome everyone to the EdD information session for the Higher Education and Student Affairs Department. I'm Amy Barnes. I'm the director of the program, and I'm just going to share my screen, and then I will let some other folks introduce themselves as well. Get it going here. Okay. All right, can everyone see that? Perfect. Okay. I introduced myself already, and I'm a clinical associate professor now. I need to update this slide. I got promoted over the summer, so that was exciting. And I do various work in higher ed, in leadership, and I work with undergrads, master students, and then with EdD students, which is fantastic. I really love my work with the EdD group. And Ryan Provost is here. I'm going to let him introduce himself. And then we have a student here with us, Michelle Carr, a current student, who is going to be available to answer questions, and I'll let her introduce herself. So Ryan, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Provost. I am the Graduate Career and Professional Development Coordinator for the Department of Ed Studies and our Student Services Office. So I do a lot of work with helping our students connect to professional and personal development opportunities while they're in our programs, as well as handling a lot of the communication for our office. And right now I'm also helping a lot with recruitment for our various programs within the department. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to see all of you here.
Thank you. Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what you did before you entered the program?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Carr. I am I don't know if you would call it a third year or a fourth year in the EdD program. I originally a fourth year, but I decided to fast track it. So I'm doing it in 3 years. And the reason why I'm able to do that, I have a unique situation where I actually taught at the College of Dentistry. I was a faculty there in the Division of Dental Hygiene for 29 years. So I retired from that position so I could pursue my doctoral degree. So I don't work full time, so that has allowed me to concentrate solely on achieving my doctoral degree. So thank you for having me, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions about the program.
Awesome, thank you. We will talk about the 4-year versus 3-year track, and Michelle's right, it's a lot to do it in 3 years. So having a full-time job can make that challenging, but we have had a couple students do it. So we can talk through that on a later slide. Okay, so I just want to go over a few of the highlights of the program. It is a program designed for working professionals. That was always our aim in creating the program. And so it is part-time. It is classes offered in the evening. A few of our courses are online. I have a feeling this whole COVID situation may allow us to have more classes online in the future just because they've been developed. Why not? So I think, you might see a little bit of that flexibility added into the program in the future. But we tend to have a 2 classes per semester pace. So you're looking at 2 evenings a week, basically, in your future. Most of the class times are 5:30 to 8 p.m. We have a couple of classes that are broadly across our whole educational studies department, and those include 13 different programs. And it's not very many, it's 1 or 2 classes in that boat. And those tend to be a little bit later in the evening to accommodate more schedules, so more like 7 to 9:30, which is painful, but please know that HESA faculty do not like to teach at that hour. So if you're taking a class with us, that will not happen. It'll be 5:30 to 8. So the pace of the program is including summer. So actually, we just updated this. We are allowing or encouraging a summer start now, mostly because we are now in year 4 and most people want to start in summer, we found. If you don't want to start in summer, it's possible not to, but we're going to actually officially change our start date to summer so that it's just easier for people who want to take classes that first summer, just to kind of get a head start. And what that does is it gives you a little bit more flexibility down the road. It maybe it makes that 3-year fast track more possible, but it also like helps if like life happens, which we've also learned in this program. Many people are, working full time. Some people have families, things go wrong, maybe you just can handle one class a particular semester because you just have a lot on your plate. And so having that flexibility by taking a couple of those classes that first summer, I think could help people out. So we decided to start summer. So it's, summer, autumn, spring, summer, autumn, spring, summer, autumn, spring. And then in that third spring is when you take your exams, and they're kind of built into the program with a course. And then that kicks off your fourth year, which is your dissertation and practice year, which I will talk about in more detail in a few minutes, what that particularly looks like and how it's different from a PhD dissertation. But then just generally, I wanted to highlight how the faculty are particularly committed in this program as opposed to our PhD program in really bringing a practical focus to the coursework. And so, for example, you might write a white paper or give a presentation or write an op-ed, as an assignment as opposed to a research paper, right? You'll still have some research papers because we got to prepare you for the final project. But, you'll see some other types of creative kind of assignments that will address the fact that you are a working professional. Some of them may actually be applicable even to your work. So, for example, I teach a strategy and leadership class, and my students do a strategic planning project. And I encourage them to use their current jobs as they think about that project, because it makes sense, right? To get some benefit out of working on a project like that. So you'll see that throughout the program, and that faculty are really distinguishing, the unique needs of EdD students as opposed to other students in our program who might be studying to be faculty members or scholars or researchers, when that's not necessarily the case for EdD students. We tend to see more EdD students going the track of administration after they finish their degrees. I always think it's good to highlight just like the types of courses that are included in the degree. Perhaps you already looked this up online and are familiar, but you'll notice these are all, in some ways very practical courses. I will say that there is a shift possibly in that last course, Issues and Practices in Educational Technology. We are now going to lump that course with some others under an umbrella called critical skill development, I think is what we're calling it. So you won't have to take a tech course, but a tech course will be an option under a few other courses that also have a practical focus around really professional skills. And then in the EdD, there are 2 research classes required, 2 cognates, which is basically an area that you're interested in outside of HESA, or it can be HESA classes if it is specific to a particular area that you want to learn more in. So for example, we have had students do leadership and organization type cognates. And so they might take my leadership class and count it toward the cognate, but then they might go over to the Fisher College of Business and take another leadership class over there and then count that as their cognate, those 2 courses combined. Or you can go take 2 courses in another department, entirely different department. We have somebody who did educational psychology. We've had folks do gender and sexuality studies. Lots of different kind of ideas around what that cognate should be. And I always just say, think about your future as a professional. What are some new skills and interest areas that you want to explore to kind of highlight your degree by adding a little something extra. So that's what the cognate classes are for. And then you have 3 electives. And those, we have all kinds of different electives that we offer in HESA each semester. So you kind of pick and choose those as they become available for you. Most of your electives will be completed either in the summer or in the 3rd year. Same goes with research classes, because we do have a cohort model, and we do pretty much set your first 2 years so that you can stay together as an EdD cohort and take courses together in those first 2 years, which I think really helps to bond the cohorts and create that supportive community for everyone to kind of have that experience of being in class together as much as possible. The dissertation and practice is part of a requirement for graduating with a doctoral degree. You have to have some sort of final document. And we decided that we wanted to make it distinctly different from a dissertation, which is what PhD students have to complete, which a dissertation is traditionally a empirical research project where you're contributing sort of new knowledge to the field by conducting your own independent research. This one is more of a consulting project. So as part of this class, as mentioned, or part of this program, as mentioned previously, you'll take 2 research classes and an assessment course. So really this project is more about assessment and evaluation. And so you will be, it's got a group project element, but it's individual in nature. So you'll be put in a group with 2 or 3 of your colleagues from your cohort, and you will be paired with an office on campus that will present you with a problem they're facing and they want to learn more about. And then you will design an assessment project that asks the questions that get to the answers that they're interested in learning more about. And so there are 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 individual projects happening around the same project of practice. So you're in this group with your colleagues, but you're doing your own independent project and answering the same problem of practice, which is great because you're kind of triangulating the problem, right? You're addressing it from different lenses. Maybe somebody decides they want to do a quantitative approach and do a survey and survey students about that problem, or maybe somebody else wants to do interviews or a focus group. And so you kind of decide amongst yourselves how you're going to approach it. And then hopefully you're able to come together and make some really solid recommendations. And that's the group piece, as you come together at the end and share your results from each of your individual projects and write a singular document, much shorter, like a 4 to 5 page document together that you present to the office with strategic recommendations and kind of a summary of your individual projects. And so the good news is this is becoming very popular. It's only been a year, really. We did 1 consulting site last year. We have 3 consulting sites this year. And I have people contacting me already, offices saying, I have a problem of practice I'd like your EdD students to focus on. I'm like, oh my God, we just started, which is great. It's a good problem to have. But I do my best to survey the interests of the class that's coming up, about what they would like to maybe work on in terms of their consulting projects. And I try to go out and find offices that match those interests. I can't 100% guarantee that everyone gets exactly what they hoped for, but I try really hard as sort of a matching process to try to make sure that people are going to at least enjoy the research that they're doing in their final year. But you are doing sort of real world research that will have real world impact, and learning how to take a problem and address it with good research questions and designing that assessment project around it. You do have a committee for that. So there'll be 3 faculty members on your committee for that entire final year to help guide you through that project. I will be on all the committees. That's kind of the model we've been using. And then 2 faculty members join me for each group. I'm going to stop there just to make sure there are no questions about what I've covered so far. Are there any questions? Okay, wonderful. I get this question a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it with its own slide. So yeah, I get asked a lot, what's the difference between an EdD and a PhD? And to be totally honest with you, it is mostly about the day-to-day life experience of an EdD student versus a PhD student. A PhD student is training to be a scholar. So they are focused on research. They take 5 research classes. The EdD students take 2. They are publishing. They are working with faculty on research projects and grants. It's encouraged that they have several publications before they finish their program. And so that's really, they are spending day in and day out with that lens around research. The EdD folks are working all day, right? And so then they're coming to class and they're learning about what is current and new in the field of higher education, reading articles, understanding research, making sense of it, and how to apply it. So they are going back, they're talking with their cohorts in class about this current issue in higher education, how it impacts their work specifically, which is great. It sort of illuminates the problem, right? When you have real world experiences to apply in those contexts. And then you take that learning that happens in the classroom back to your office the next day. Maybe you share it with your colleagues, maybe you apply it in various ways, and then you bring it back. So it's like this cycle of theory to practice that's really rich and just very exciting, I think, in the classroom space. Faculty are learning to truly love EDD students. Not that they didn't before, but I get little nods and winks like, we love those EDD students, because typically EDD students are just super excited about what they're reading because they're seeing it play out in their jobs every day. Or they're concerned about these issues because they're dealing with them, right, firsthand. And it comes to life in a different way, I think, for EDD students. So there's that piece. And then there's obviously the difference in the final project. And then I think I hear a lot like, which one should I choose? And I always say, dig deep and try to figure out which end goal you have, right? Is your end goal practice or is your end goal scholarship, right? And if your end goal is scholarship, then you need to be in the PhD track, right? If your end goal is more, I'm pretty sure I'm staying in the practice area, then the EDD makes a lot more sense for that. Some people will say, well, is there a prestige issue around PhD versus EDD in the academy? And I would say, I sort of joke all the time. I say, I don't know. So I have an EDD, and I would say that any sort of feelings of being less than that I've felt from people around campus is mostly from like maybe arts and sciences faculty or folks like that. And it honestly is about my education degree, not about my PhD versus EDD, right? I don't even know if they know the difference. It's more like education maybe isn't as valued, which is, I got all kinds of opinions about that. But but I think there's sometimes a bias from like the hard sciences, right? Or, other areas that, some of what we do isn't as research-based or whatever in the social sciences. But I think more than anything, it's education than EDD versus PhD. When I go out into the academy and I'm in committee meetings across campus and things like that. But I really haven't experienced a ton of that. It's just a very few handful of times. And honestly, I think that this program has done so well, and we have so many great people in this program that specifically locally, at least, the reputation of this program is going to be about the alumni and the impact that those alumni are having. And I mean, it's kind of already happening because they're already working, right? So they're already talking about the program and sharing what they're learning. And so that is really creating the reputation that is associated with having an EDD from Ohio State. So, that comes with time too, but I think it will be a non-issue. I also will let you know that there is it's not an official like accreditation board or anything, but there isn't a professional association called the Carnegie Project for the Educational Doctorate, and short for CPED. And CPED is a national organization that is trying to really raise the profile of EDD programs across the country, and holding annual conferences for faculty who run EDD programs and teach in EDD programs in an attempt to really get together on best practices and increase academic rigor and really, just improve the vision around EDD programs across the country. And I think that's also having a very positive impact. And I think that started about 10 or 12 years ago. So it's starting to have some effect, which is great. So if you want to check out their website, I think that's good too. Any questions before I turn it over to Ryan to talk about the application process? Okay, Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll just say I will jump in and make a quick caveat on the letters of recommendation when you get there.
Okay, great. So yeah, our application process, you see it on there, what all we require. When you apply, you'll want to submit a statement of purpose. That is typically a 1 to 2 page written statement from you giving our faculty kind of an idea of why you're interested in the program, why you'd be a great fit, maybe talking about some of the things you're interested in learning throughout the program. If you know there are faculty who are doing work that really interests you, you can mention stuff like that, but really giving the faculty a sense of who you are beyond just your resume and what you've done before, and why you do think you'd be a great fit for the program. So that's what the statement of purpose is. Again, 1 to 2 pages is what they're typically looking for there. A resume.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So ours is also highlighted by the fact that we ask you to select a problem of practice to let us know what you're passionate about, right? In the field of higher ed, there's something, right, that's drawing you to coming and getting a degree, and you want to learn more about an issue probably that is, you know, close to your heart. We want to know what that issue is. And so there's a couple guiding questions for that piece of the problem of practice. You still want to be able to do what Ryan says, in highlighting, you know, who you are for the faculty. That piece is also important, but specific to this program, we're also interested in that problem of practice, which means you can also go a little longer than the 1 to 2 pages. I think 4 may be the max that we say somewhere in the documentation, but because we're asking for that added piece.
Cool. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, and then a resume or CV. In addition to that, transcripts from any previous institutions that you had attended, and then 3 letters of recommendation. And did you want to jump in here, Amy?
Yeah, so the one from the supervisor is unique to this program. And it's unique to this program because it is a working professional degree. And I've already run into some issues with students, unfortunately, not getting a lot of support from their supervisors about this. And the issue there is that the supervisors actually, if you work at Ohio State, and I realize not everybody works at Ohio State, but actually anywhere locally that you would be attending, you're probably going to want to use your tuition benefit, and your supervisor has to sign your tuition benefit forms. So if you want the university to pay for your classes, then your supervisor has to sign off on them. And so that supervisor recommendation does not have to be substantive necessarily. It can be, if your supervisor knows you well and you think they're a great person to write you a letter, then they can be, you know, one of your 3. If you want to make them the 4th, and you just want them to write a quick paragraph that says, I support this person in their application to the EdD program, it can just be that. And then the other 3 can be, you know, the more substantive letters. So I just wanted to make that clear as to kind of why we are doing that, is just to make sure you're communicating with your supervisor about your application and they understand what this program is all about.
Cool. I believe the dates are on the next page, correct? Oh, just okay. But this is how you apply for the program. Just go to that website, and there's a find your program option, and you would select Educational Studies, Doctor of Education. And you'll definitely want to know which application to submit. It can be a little confusing. So if you do have any questions, if you do get confused or do see something that doesn't look right, just reach out to our office. I believe our email is later, but just reach out to edstudies@osu.edu if at any point you get confused, and we'll help you. It's usually pretty simple to figure out, but some folks get caught in the weeds a little bit. But to identify what type of applicant you are, just to go over some of the nuance that people get most confused about. A new student is someone who was never enrolled as a degree-seeking grad student at OSU. A returning or former student was enrolled as a degree-seeking grad student at OSU, and they already have a graduate degree that they have previously completed from Ohio State. So you already have 1 graduate degree, maybe you got your master's at OSU, and now you're coming back to get your EdD. So that would be a returning or former student. And a current student is someone you are currently enrolled in graduate courses, and you're applying. So if you're currently in courses, you are a current student, and that's the difference that you're gonna want to look at. Okay, so students who have earned a graduate degree, or if you are enrolled now in a degree seeking program, you must complete a transfer of graduate program form online. I'd recommend doing it online, especially with COVID right now. I think that it may at some point be the only way to do it, but for now, definitely I would recommend doing it online. And this includes any students who have been awarded degrees from the old programs that we had to transfer into our new educational studies students. So if you're a student way back when we were using those old, yeah, we would still need to do that. And keep in mind that your proposed academic level should be professional, and it's that academic plan. So the EDU CST-ED. If you select a doctorate for the proposed academic level, only the PhD option will be available, and that's not what you want to go for. So yeah, make sure when you're selecting, it's that professional one and not the doctorate, because we'll get the wrong one. And information on how to complete that transfer of graduate program can be found on the intra-university transfer application checklist that you'll see on our website. And then, yeah, once you get that application submitted, first thing, just be patient. It takes our system 1 to 2 days, typically on average, to be received, especially as we get closer to deadlines. That's typically pretty normal. So be patient. Your recommenders will receive an email from Graduate Professional Admissions once your application has been received. So that's something to keep in mind as you're filling it out. So don't procrastinate till the last minute, because then until you submit that application, the 3 people who are submitting your letters of recommendation will not actually get that sent to them until you have fully submitted that. So you'll want to make sure to give them some time. It's not necessarily automatic, but it takes about 24 hours to get to them. So yeah, submitting the application is what triggers your recommenders getting the opportunity to submit their letter on your behalf. And then be sure to double check your spelling of your emails, inform your recommenders about the email. So let them know it's coming, and to check their junk mail just in case it's happened before. It's not common, they usually get it, but if they don't get it after a day or two, tell your letter of recommendation writer to check their junk mail. It may be there, but make sure you have that correct when you're putting that in.
I'll just jump in and add, my recommendation would either be to let them know that, like, on December 1st or on December 2nd or 3rd, they're going to get an email and they need to submit it right then. Or you finish your application 2 weeks early just to be safe and get it done on November 15th. And so they have 2 weeks to complete it, because your application is not considered complete until you have all those letters of recommendation. And faculty, typically the December 1st deadline happens and we get them 4 or 5 days later after they've been processed, and we start reading them right away. Because honestly, I don't want to be reading them over the holiday break. So I usually try to get them done pretty quickly in December. And so, just as a strategy to have yours read on time, then go ahead and try to either warn them that you need them to get that in right away when they get that link, or go ahead and submit early.
Cool. And then to keep going, yeah, you can request from Graduate Professional Admissions that the link for the letters of recommendation be, I think that word is supposed to be present, or have letters of recommendations complete the paper form. Again, I would, resent, sorry. But I would recommend having them do it electronically. That's the easiest way to do it. And regularly check your application status about all your application materials. And again, if at any point throughout the process you have questions, just email that edstudies@osu.edu and someone from our office will get you the answer to your question pretty quickly. Okay, if you are missing something, connect documents to your application after you've applied. If you didn't attach all your required documents to your application, you must use, there's an admissions uploader that you'll use to submit any remaining items. So you don't send it to that Ed Studies email. You have to upload it that way. If you send us anything, it doesn't do any good because it has to go directly to graduate professional admissions. It can't come to our office first and us send it along on your behalf. You have to upload it that way. Okay, and this is the tuition and fee table. I'm sorry, it's really small and hard to read, but just to kind of give you an idea of what the fees look, tuition and fees look like right now. I know you may have some questions. The biggest questions you'll have are probably about if you are currently working, especially at the university, about what the faculty staff tuition assistance looks like. There is a link here at the bottom of the slide that I would recommend you go to look more into that, and contact your HR department within your area just to talk to them, because they'll have all the answers about exactly things like tax implications, what all is covered and what that looks like. So you'll want to have that conversation before. But yeah, this is what tuition and fees look like right now. And we all know that that changes from time to time, and who knows with COVID, but just to give you an idea of what that looks like. Okay, and like I said, talk to your HR representative if you're an OSU employee about what tuition benefits, taxes, all that kind of stuff would look like, as well as time away from your position, which I'm sure you would have also talked to your supervisor about. Applications are due December 1st at 11:59 p.m. I would not recommend shooting for very close to that 11:59. Try to get it done as early as possible, but that is the deadline for a summer start. You'll see a lot on our website that it'll say December 1st deadline for an autumn start. That's for most of our programs. Like Amy mentioned earlier, the EdD is a little different and is starting in the summer. But just know only completed applications at 11:59 on December 1st are what's going to be accepted and reviewed. So keep that deadline in mind. You can visit our website for any upcoming info sessions.
I like how it says one online. They're all online because of COVID.
Yeah, they're all online now.
Yeah.
We do have an application FAQs page that you can go to at the link there. Or again, if you have a question, again, just shoot us an email, edstudies@osu.edu. We're happy to help.
I can take these last two, Ryan.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. So one of the strategies that some people have had, if they either want to create more flexibility for themselves during the program and maybe not take 2 classes at a time all the way through, or if they want to be ambitious like Michelle and think about doing this program in 3 years, is you can take classes now if you're interested. So like in the spring semester, you could take a class or 2 just to get a head start as a grad non-degree student at the university. You have to apply through the graduate school for grad non-degree status. I think there's a small fee for that, but it's not huge. And then you are granted the opportunity to enroll really in any classes you want to at the university, but you can be strategic about those and take something from HESA that could potentially apply to your future degree. It's also a great way to get to know faculty and get a little insight into the program, just to be able to see, what it's all about, and you can make your final decision. By then you've already applied, but hopefully it confirms for you that this is what you were hoping it would be. If that is something you're interested in, I would just highly encourage you to reach out to me and just email me so that I can give you some class options, because I don't want you to take classes that I would want you to take with your cohort. That makes people sad later, and I wouldn't want you to be sad. Because if you take something and then they all take it together, but you've already taken it, that's no fun. You're missing out on that cohort bonding opportunity. So just reach out to me. And I can send you a list of classes for spring that would be potentially good choices if you were considering that option. Now, I should make a note that some of our electives and research classes, which I would probably be recommending mostly to you, are sometimes during the day. That is not something that you will encounter often we do have daytime classes because we have PhD students who take classes during the day, and we have master students who take classes during the day. So some of our electives are during the day. So there will always be elective options in the evening for EdD students, but the one that you want might not be at night sometimes. Sometimes it cycles around in another semester and is offered in the evening, but just know, I don't know how much flexibility you have in your jobs to take like maybe 1, maybe 2 daytime classes during the next 4 years. But that could come up for you as just I don't have to take this class, but I want to take this class. And it's offered during the day. So that just might be a negotiation with your supervisor about how you're going to make up that time if that happens. But just rest assured that if you can't do that, if your job's just not flexible like that, you can get this degree only in the evening. That is, you will be able to finish it, no problem. We will make admissions decisions, that last bullet, by late February, and we try to have some sort of welcoming activity. Usually it's in person, but we'll see where we are in the spring with an opportunity for the new cohort to really get to know one another. So that's always a fun time once you've been admitted. Okay. What questions do you have? We've got Ryan on here for specific questions related to student services and the application process. I'm happy to answer questions. And then Michelle is here for a student perspective. And I would feel bad if I invited Michelle and she didn't answer anything. So could someone at least ask her one question? I'd appreciate that.
Don't feel bad.
So just chime in.
Sorry, I have a couple of questions. Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Belkis Clark, and I actually work at Ohio State. I work in the Office of Student Athlete Support Services. So, hello. Couple different questions, I guess, for you, Michelle, is if you have the option to do it in 3 years, would you recommend that someone does? Because my students are in class year round, so pretty much I never get any breaks. They're full-time spring, summer, autumn. So I was thinking of doing the same thing, so to speak. So would it be something you would recommend?
For me, yes. And like I said, I can only speak for me because it was like, I have the time, so why wouldn't I do it? And probably my biggest dilemma with that was I am not graduating with the cohort that I started with. So, and I've told Amy this before, I love my cohort. We have gotten so close. And it's killing us not to be together all the time right now, but we get together Zoom, and we've gotten together socially distanced when we can. So that's probably my biggest drawback of this. I actually contemplated not doing it in 3 years because I wanted to graduate with my cohort. So because you develop such a bond with your cohort, because you're taking the classes, as Amy said, the discussions are great. The diversity of my group was phenomenal. So we all are very close. But having said that, the cohort that I'm in, which is actually that I'm graduating with, which is actually the very first cohort, even though they had, I think, 2 people, Amy, that did it in 3 years. I've gotten close with them too. And we just got together last week and had lunch, at Brew Dog's patio, so we have developed a bond too. So for me, yeah, why not get it done in 3 years if I have the time to do it? So that worked for me.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess as far as like planning, when you were doing when you shifted cohorts and you decided to do it in 3 years, was it something that was kind of hard to shift to, or was it kind of an easy transition?
So I think, Amy, from the get-go, I said I was going to do it in 3 years.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really shift along the way. We planned, so you meet with Amy and at least once a year, you actually go through your whole plan for the 4 years and the courses that you're taking. From the very beginning, we planned it out for 3 years for me.
Yeah, I can definitely help with that. I will also just caveat and say that it has been a struggle for people to do it in 3 years if they didn't take classes ahead of time and if they work full time. But a summer start will help. So if you have 2 classes in summer, but basically what you need to do is you need to complete 6 classes in your first 2 years that you wouldn't have otherwise needed to complete. So that's a lot of additional classes. It's actually more than 3 classes a semester. So it's tricky. But if you took 1 or 2 classes in spring as a grad non-degree student, and then you took 2 in the summer, you would be getting there, right? It would be possible, I think. It's just you'd have to triple up a couple semesters on coursework.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I did. I took 2 classes, grad non-degree, which is the max you can take, I believe, grad non-degree, right? I think. And then I took 2 classes in the summer. And
they've upped the limit to 10 credits for grad non-degree.
Okay.
So 3 classes.
Yeah. Okay. And then 2 semesters, I took 3 classes instead of the 2.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question, if that's okay. What about if you're not currently working? Are former supervisors okay to get letters from?
If you're not working, I'm not worried about it. It's more of an issue of just getting their support for you, like, just having extra stuff on your plate. And if you're not working, it's probably not an issue. If you could just put in your application, where it says, there's one little spot in the application that says something about if you want to tell the committee anything, sometimes people put in there about like, I got this bad grade on my transcript. Here's why I got the bad grade, kind of an explanation section. If you could just put in there that you're currently not working and that's why you didn't turn in the supervisor recommendation, that would be totally fine.
No, who should we use instead? Like, is a past supervisor okay, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have to turn in 3 letters of rec. And I would say you want people who can speak to your ability to, be a good writer would be great. Sometimes people would go to former faculty members for that, but I recognize that some people have been out of school for a while, so that might not be a possibility in this case, and that's okay. But somebody who might be able to speak to your writing ability in a professional context would be great. And then just somebody who can speak to like your intellectual curiosity, your passion areas in the field of higher education, or just speak to your ability to kind of be successful in something like this, in a venture that involves, academic work. And it can be anyone that can speak to those things for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. My email is on the screen. Please, please, please reach out if you have any additional questions between now and December 1st. Or if you are interested in possibly signing up for some grad non-degree classes for spring, reach out to me and I can help you with that process as well. We also have many enthusiastic students like Michelle who, when I have a prospective student contact me and they say, I want to talk to a current student, I email everyone and I get 10 to 15 yeses quickly in like 10 minutes of I'll talk to them. So a lot of enthusiastic people who are willing to talk to you about their experiences in the program. So if that is something you'd like me to connect you to any current students with any particular kind of distinctive qualities, some people want to talk to someone who's got small children or who's, further along in their career or, just different kind of characteristics that might be something you want to connect with someone about. I'm more than happy to do that. And then there's also a contingent of folks in every cohort who don't necessarily have a higher ed background, but kind of want to transfer into the higher ed space. And that's okay too. We've got folks from K-12 and from even, I've got someone from the Army in my current first year cohort who is looking to be kind of in a curriculum design position in the Army in training and development when he finishes. And so that's unique. Michelle's thinking of using this degree more in a consulting kind of way when she graduates. So, you know, there's lots of different ways that people are applying this degree and thinking about it. So if you have any particular areas of interest or want to talk to someone, please don't hesitate to reach out. We can probably connect you with somebody who fits your interests. All right. If there are no more questions, just thank you all so much for giving us your time tonight. And hopefully we've convinced you to apply and come join us in the EdD program. We would love to have you. We just really appreciate. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Michelle, for being here as well.
One last question. Sorry, everybody.
Go ahead.
About how many people are let into the cohort each year?
Yeah, so we haven't really had more than 15-ish. It's varied from 10 to 15, although the year we had 10, we had fewer applicants. I will say, like, I am not interested in this program being particularly selective or competitive. Sometimes it just has to do with what our capacity for being able to accommodate students, and that there are enough faculty to go around and support, especially in that fourth year with those final projects. So we have to limit our numbers a little bit, but I always say, like, if you don't get in this year, you know, come talk to me and I'll be very honest as to like maybe what some of the reasons were. And then I would encourage you to reapply the following year, and people have gotten in the second year that they've tried. Because I'm not really interested in it being super competitive. I feel like this program is about serving current professionals and helping them become better educators and better professionals in the field. And so I think everyone is, you know, capable of, you know, doing this work and getting there if they have the motivation to do so. It's you know, it's just a limit of space issue for me more than anything. So I don't know if that answers your question. It just kind of depends on how many people apply. But 15 has been kind of our max as to like what we feel like we can handle right now with the number of faculty we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I really sincerely appreciate you all making the time to be with us tonight. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Good night.
Thank you.